In the opening scene, we see a cool character named Kufa making a move using Starburst Stream against a group of people. Someone dressed in black fires a bullet named Kufa at him. But, with skills honed from his past life, Kufa evades it with a 360-degree maneuver, taking down his opponents one by one until only the last enemy remains. The two engage in an intense battle, but in the midst of the fight, someone starts shooting at the person in black from a distance. The story then shifts to a scene on a train, with Kufa on his way somewhere. Before we continue, let's talk about the story's world. This world is shrouded in darkness in many places, and monsters known as Kinshakt roam at night. After a lengthy journey, Kufa arrives at a place where lights called Fener shine brightly. Upon reaching his destination, he helps a red-haired girl by carrying her bag. After assisting her, he continues on his way until he encounters an injured seal. With his skill, he manages to heal the seal back to health. Before long, he arrives at his workplace, where he must work for the next 3 years. While chatting with a wizard, a girl named Mulida appears, gazing at the stars, unaware that she's revealing a bit too much. Embarrassed, she slips off the balcony, but Kufa catches her just in time before she hits the ground. "Are you my teacher?" Mulida asks shyly. "Of course, or would you rather consider me your husband?" Kufa jokes. After a brief introduction, the bell signaling the start of lessons rings. As they head to the classroom, they encounter Nerva, who seems to dislike Mulida. In this world, a power called Mana grants users special abilities and enhances their physical capabilities. Usually, this power awakens around the age of 7, especially among high-ranking nobles. The training session between Mulida and Nerva begins, and we learn that Mulida hasn't yet awakened her mana, despite coming from a noble family. A paladin, one of the 3 major nobles, is a talented young girl but lacks abilities when Mulida falls short. At that moment, she feels her dreams mocked. Therefore, she decides to get involved in a minor issue while discussing Elise, who stands nearby. Elise is also Mulida's cousin. At this point, Mulida, unable to bear listening to everything, runs off, with Elise chasing after her. However, Elise is eventually blocked by Mulida, who tells her not to bother her and calls her Rita. As a result, Elise loses her balance and falls dramatically. At night, news about Mulida is written up in a report. Kufa's main mission is to serve as Mulida's private tutor and guide her. At this time, it's revealed that Mulida is actually not the biological child of the Angel family. They are planning to carry out an assassination of Mulida Angel after this. Kufa begins to prepare the potion needed for this mission. With all the equipment ready, they set out to find Mulida with the intention of killing her. However, when they arrived at Mulida's room, they found only emptiness. Kufa immediately searched for Mulida and found her being harassed by a group led by Pumpkin Doll. Just as Mulida was about to have her hair cut, Pumpkin Doll suddenly lost his head to a slash. Seeing his master being bullied, an enraged Kufa fought against Jack until only one person remained. Using a technique called Wanata Unity, he easily defeated them. After successfully rescuing Mulida, Kufa asked if she was willing to entrust her life to him, to which she innocently agreed. They then drank a prepared potion, and Mulida experienced something entirely new, leaving her in awe. In that moment, a blue light shone before her. In the next scene, Kufa carefully examined Mulida's body, making her feel embarrassed. At the same time, Kufa informed her that the power Mulida received was not paladin, but rather samurai. Despite this, Mulida was thrilled because it was the same class as Kufa's. They decided to keep this a secret for the time being, worried about potential rumors. Mulida then asked to become Kufa's student. Kufa proudly accepted, making Mulida happy to finally have someone she could rely on. However, he gave her one condition. She was not to use her power for a week, except during his training. This left Mulida slightly surprised. In class, Mulida playfully tried to bother Elise as usual. During break, while talking to Kufa, he noticed someone spying on them. It turned out to be Elise and a red-haired woman whom Kufa recognized from earlier. She was Elise's teacher, named Rosidi, a highly skilled woman. Rosidi, known as the Carrier of Embers for her friendly nature, had extended her hand to form a good relationship. However, When she tried to reach out for friendship, she was met with rejection and told, "Sorry, I can't get close to you because you're the type of woman who can't be trusted, and there are two people like you who only bring trouble." Later, in the battle arena, Malida began to lose her confidence. Meanwhile, Nerva continued to provoke her. As Miss Nerva reveled in belittling Malida, I said, "In that case, I have a small request." Overly engrossed in her arrogance, Nerva happily agreed. Then we said, "Enough, almost rotten. Could you shut your mouth for a bit?" Which immediately angered Miss Nerva. She even mocked Kufa as a little teacher who had no right to speak that way. Meanwhile, Malida fought desperately for her beloved teacher. The battle in the arena began with deep-seated resentment. Miss Malida immediately attacked Nerva with all her strength, surprising onlookers with her talent and skill as Malida Angel. The attack continued one-sidedly. When Malida was close to winning, her strength suddenly gave out. However, that didn't stop Nerva, who kept attacking as if she wanted to crush her. But Malida used an ultimate technique called the Sword Light Shadow, which left Kufa utterly amazed. After the battle ended, Malida quickly ran over to Kufa, who lifted her up with care. At that moment, Malida's father arrived and saw them. Malida told her father that she had finally won a fight for the first time. However, her father only replied, "Don't be too proud of this first victory," which made Kufa, who overheard, want to defend Malida. While training, Nerva approached Malida with a book, and they began to spar again in the arena. In the middle of the training, Elise appeared, immediately displaying her remarkable talent. Later, while Kufa was enjoying a cup of coffee, Malida came up to him and mentioned that there would soon be a secret night festival, a celebration in their peaceful town. Smiling, Malida asked, "Teacher, do you like festivals?" Yet, Kufa gave no answer, leaving Malida slightly annoyed. She knew everything about Kufa, but Kufa didn't reveal much about himself. Finally, Kufa responded, "Actually, I'm from the Eternal Night Sea, a place where we must live in a state of constant vigilance." Hearing this, Malida seemed fascinated. She then offered to dance with Kufa at the festival. Although he received apologies from others due to a previous mission, he had to return to the Sacred Kingdom but promised to be back on the last day. Meanwhile, Elise faced pressure from her household to make Malida kneel before her. When the festival started, Elise sat quietly and cried because she couldn't wear the traditional attire passed down from her seniors. Seeing this, Kufa approached and tried to console her. However, a group of renowned men surrounded them. Malida, who had fainted, awoke somewhere else. As her wounds were treated, someone mentioned that from now on, her place would be moved to the camp. The pumpkin doll separated from Elise. Seeing the situation, Malida didn't stand by idly. She fought to help her sister escape until they encountered a seemingly valuable weapon. With the skills learned from Kufa, Malida crafted a torch and placed it in the pumpkin doll's mouth. Afterward, they rested but soon encountered a masked man waiting for them. Iris, a girl who witnessed this, immediately attacked but was injured when the masked man gazed at them with compassionate red and blue eyes. The man then changed plans, ordering his men to pursue the two sisters. Meanwhile, as their mother tried to exit the museum door, it collapsed. Kufa and Rositi acted immediately. Kufa then chased the masked man through the museum. Upon arrival, the masked man injected a liquid into a large mass that evolved into Land Kano. Angered, Kufa used high-level sword techniques to attack, but was hit by a mana-draining energy. Yet, a guard remarked that one day, the princess would surpass those limits and reach the highest peak. Enraged, the masked man attacked Kufa. However, Kufa activated Limit Break and counterattacked with full power. It turned out that this was Kufa's true form, a vampire from the most powerful clan. After the battle, the injured masked man was ordered to inform his master that the princess they were protecting displayed powers that mirrored the strength of a holy knight. Before he departed, he asked Kufa if he truly wanted to protect the princess, as one day she might become a target. Kufa firmly replied that if that day came, he would willingly do so. Elsewhere, a man with a cane was instructed by Batman to investigate music and America. Then, the scene shifted to an American festival where heroes were celebrating together. Everyone there was dancing, and a girl told her friend that she wanted to always be with her teacher, even though she was just a child for now. In the future, she hoped to become a woman worthy of her teacher. The two danced together in a festive atmosphere filled with lights and cheerful music. In the 4th episode, the story reveals the past of a girl named Elise who got lost in the forest. As she wandered in confusion, she encountered a small, adorable-looking wolf, but it unexpectedly attacked her. Fortunately, Malita appeared to save her. Elise admired Malita deeply, even considering her like an older sister. Back in the present, Elise could be seen following Malita like a shadow. On the other hand, a girl named Rosidi was just as determined in her devotion to the hero, although the hero seemed to view her as a rival. Rosidi tried to get closer to the hero, but he turned her down, saying that they only had a relationship as private teacher and rival. Rosidi casually responded, saying that despite this, they could still be close. However, the hero replied that even though their relationship seemed close, others might think differently, especially the butler, who might not approve. All the students finally arrived at the Glass Palace, and in the coming week, a selection tournament for Luna Lumia would be held. The girls' school also arrived, with a pink-haired girl named Salacha and a green-haired girl named Hera. Their presence immediately drew the attention of all the students. Once everyone had gathered, the headmaster announced the selected candidates. To the students' surprise, Malita and a girl named Elise were chosen. The next day, Malita felt anxious as she was accused of cheating. However, Chanel, the hero, approached her, hugging her and saying that he would always be by her side, even if the whole world doubted her. This reassured Malita, and she became determined to train diligently. While Malita was resting, a student from St. Dor advised her that if she possessed strength, she should not hesitate, as showing her strength would make others believe in her. Hearing this, Malita felt motivated. However, the student suddenly disappeared. Malita's friend, who came by, asked who that person was, but Malita could only remain silent, confused. She replied that he was from Dodi's. I forgot to ask his name and reach out to him at night. At this point, the suspicious-looking housemaid aunt was greeted by Kufa with the remark, "Working hard to destroy evidence in the middle of the night, aren't we?" As a stubborn suspect, they debated as Kufa approached her and took evidence from the maid's skirt, which was a piece of colored glass. The maid exclaimed, "Impossible. I made sure this evidence was dealt with this morning." This, of course, was all part of Kufa's plan, as he had brought fake evidence to deceive her. But that wasn't enough, as Malita and Elise were also present. While the maid was trying to come up with an excuse, Malita said, "Elise and I are bound by a strong bond, so accept me. If I can defeat Elise in the test, then I am the rightful one." Later, in Malita's room, Kufa praised her, saying, "You were amazing earlier. I'm proud of you." After they said goodnight, Kufa was about to leave the room when he noticed a black paper bird. Elsewhere, Rosidi felt anxious, seeing Elise looking very sad. The scene shifts, with Kufa following the black paper bird until he meets Black Mamia, and a battle ensues. Then, it returns to Elise, who approaches Malita to inform her that she has decided to give up on the test. Meanwhile, as Rosidi is battling Black Mamia, Rosidi arrives to assist her. In the heat of the fight, Black Mamia seems to want to say something to Paige, but Rosidi interrupts, saying, "Stop fooling around." When the teachers arrive to look for Paige, Black Mamia decides to retreat to avoid being discovered. In this moment, Kufa shares information about Black Mamia, revealing that he is a samurai and a formidable entertainer in the world of Fanel. Rosidi then request that the principal cancel the selection, but the principal refuses, stating that the decision was made by the school director. The scene shifts to the dining hall, where Malita sits alone until Nerva and the student council president join her. Nerva says, "If you're upset, don't hesitate to get even, right?" Time passes until the final day before the tournament begins. Kufa brings hot milk to Malita and asks if she has any issues with Elise. He says, "If anything happens to the young lady that I don't know about, that would be the only time I can't be by her side. But outside of that, the young lady is always with me." Hearing this, Malita blushes and thinks to herself that Kufa is truly dangerous. Malita then shares about Elise's childhood, mentioning how they used to play together, with Elise seeing Mullida as her older sister. Maybe only Mullida thought of it that way, feeling like she would only end up hurting Elise. Hearing this, Kufa kneels and says, "I believe what matters to the young lady is not knowing her status, but expressing her feelings. So, when you face the test, don't hesitate to show your feelings. Your bond will never be broken, no matter what happens." Finally, the anticipated day arrives, and the students prepare for the test. The girls gathered in the Crystal Temple are ready to showcase their skills. Lumia proudly watches Luna, and as the curtain rises, the team from her mother-in-law's side also secures a victory. Elise takes command on the upper level, while Kufa is stationed in the tower. There, he tells a young girl from the Saint Doded clan that it's checkmate. The scene shifts back to the battle between the two sisters, ready to give their all. Meanwhile, in the front line, a girl from Dojin displays her strength, surprising our forces as they kneel and ask for her name. The girl introduces herself as Mule from the Rammer family. Realizing this, Kufa immediately apologizes, assuming Black Mamiya could only mimic low-class powers. After leaving, Mule takes a deep breath, as Rositi's presence was terrifying. The scene returns to the intense battle between the sisters, destroying the surrounding area. Elise says, "Lita, you're really on air," and before she finishes, Medi, her sister, is thrown back, hitting a pole. Now, the laser girl prepares to end the fight with her ultimate move, Iris Feather Strike. She slashes with her sword until it finally breaks. Mullida, brimming with confidence, kicks Elise to the ground. Mullida then says, "Elise, even though you're a paladin, I will always be stronger and ahead of you. So, trust me." The two sisters finally reconcile after their long conflict. While they embrace with emotion, a disguised Medea appears to attack them. But when they are cornered, Kufa suddenly appears and attacks Medea, throwing her into the forest. Defeated, Medea admits she cannot return to headquarters. Hearing this, Kufa hands her a letter and says, "Take this letter to your father, so you won't be blamed." After the situation calms, the crown of victory is awarded to the hunter from our group. However, there is still suspicion about who was truly manipulating the mirror. Medi then invites Elise to form a new team with Medi as the leader, and Elise considers joining. Meanwhile, Rositi knocks on Kufa's door and says, "May I come in?" while joking. Rositi also informs Rositi that she has heard a frightening rumor, while Mullida and Elise call on the other girls to gather for a secret party. Once all the girls are gathered, the party begins. During the event, Mule says this is the perfect time to talk about love. However, since they are all still young, there aren't many love stories to share. Instead, they start sharing horror tales. Mule tells the story of an ancient mirror. Long ago, a husband and wife moved to a new place to escape Latin laws and start a new life. However, they were always met with prejudice, until the husband grew frustrated and hurt his wife. Although she endured with patience, one day, the heartbroken husband stabbed her to death. At that moment, he tore out her heart. After realizing what he had done, he fled in fear. However, he still carried her heart, which spoke to him in a woman's voice, asking if he was hurt. When he came to his senses, he realized how deeply he loved his wife. He embraced her heart and slowly sank with it. But the story didn't end there. The woman's body, now heartless, continued searching for her heart, eventually becoming known as the Grey Witch. Filled with vengeance, she began to hunt for the hearts of other beautiful women. After hearing this story, Elise was genuinely shocked because Mule's tale was so frightening. At the same time, the candles in the library suddenly went out, and the figure of the Grey Witch appeared. The children who saw her were terrified and ran away. Meanwhile, four other girls quickly left to seek help. As they were walking, one of them, Melissa, stepped on something that felt like a heart. All four immediately ran, and along the way, they kept seeing heart-like objects. At the same time, pink liquid started dripping from above, making them run even faster. After a while, they had to stop because the liquid soaked them, especially Sarah, who was drenched. Jealous, her three friends tried to wipe the liquid off her. However, the candles suddenly went out again, and the Grey Witch reappeared. They ran until they reached a fountain in the garden, where they encountered 4 men they knew. They asked these men for help in return for their own favor. One of the men said he was searching for his lost heart. They then entered a room and realized that all these events had been planned by the men. The pink liquid was called Pixie Jam, which turned out to be a toy made by the men. Upon realizing this, the 4 girls felt embarrassed, especially when one of the men, Santana, saw them soaking wet. They were then told to go to bed, but, exhausted, they couldn't move. Eventually, a man named Kofa helped them to their rooms. On the way, Melinda held his hand, and he joked, saying, "Shall we stay up all night?" Where an old man asks a young, white-haired man why he's doing all this. The young man replies, "Because I want you to be happy." After that, our hero wakes up with a wooden sword beside him, as part of his training. Have you prepared your things? Because, starting today, there will be a school outing with training activities held in the city, right? Now, Melida is relying on Kufa, and we're about to outpace the girls who aren't strong enough. As they walk, a man in a suit hands Kufa a packet of medicine and says, "This is a special potion meant for one person, so think carefully before using it." Meanwhile, Tara, a red-haired girl, follows Kufa and asks, "Can you help me get married?" Long story short, Rositi's father wants to arrange a marriage for her. But, wanting to decide for herself, Rositi tells her father she's already devoted to someone else. This leaves Kufa with no choice but to help her. Rositi feels proud and even flirts with Kufa. At the same time, a handsome man arrives by carriage. It's Rositi's father, Bossum Pickett. He announces that Rositi's marriage will take place in their hometown, making Rositi panic and declare she is close to Kufa. When Rositi's father sees Kufa's face, he is shocked, as Kufa resembles someone believed to have died at age 12. Elsewhere, Melida, worried about Kufa, tries to find him but meets a new teacher named Lagawa. Along the way, she hears someone say, "The Blue Ice King is a nuisance." Suddenly, a scream is heard from a student who has fainted on the field. Rositi's father then said she would reveal Magic Solute, a revolutionary discovery that would expose which color the mana trail belongs to. She pointed to a blue mana trail as a clue. Realizing the owner was a teenager, the students immediately directed their attention to Kufa. In a tense atmosphere, they continued their journey by carriage to a place nicknamed the Underground Paradise. There, Melida heard the sound of water, but Kufa approached, placing his hand on her shoulder, and asked, "Are you starting to get bored with this tour?" Meanwhile, Rositi's father warned them not to approach a certain area because it was a mysterious point where human power was beyond comprehension. While explaining, a man arrived, reporting that someone was once again showing certain symptoms. The man, named Kik, was a prospective doctor for Rose. Rositi's father remarked that the progress of science bore witness to this incident. It was already too late to be corrected, so relief from all suffering should be granted to the information present, a relief akin to releasing oneself from this world. As adults witnessing this, they scolded Rositi's father, questioning why he was doing this in front of the students. Rositi's father explained that it was a common disease, often causing Sangarda to lose his sanity, become ferocious, and thirst for bloodshed. Meanwhile, the mother observing this concluded that the city might possess eternal life. At the church, during a significant scene, the father asked, "Why are you willing to help me like this?" But before the answer came out, children came running, delighted to see the main character. They thought that a girl named Rositi had brought back her lover. After the main character returned, he met a girl who was initially angry. In her anger, she told the main character to get her socks and put them on her. Without much resistance, the main character obeyed. While putting on the socks, the main character invited her on a date. This made Melida very happy as she finally got to be with the main character at midnight. They walked until they found a beautiful cave, which seemed to float in the air. They held hands and danced in the air. After dancing, the main character escorted Melida back and tucked her in. Melida then whispered, "Teacher, take me again next time, okay?" Elsewhere, while Melida was sleeping, the main character suddenly reached for her neck. In the next episode at the church, it was revealed that Rositi's children had been slaughtered, with their bodies strewn around, just as previously described. Everyone became more suspicious and heartbroken. Rositi's father ordered a search for the main character. The students and the headmaster walked, while Mulida also expressed an interest in finding him. However, he then told Mulida that even though he felt no one believed him, he would remain loyal to the main teacher. The girl then asked, "Do you know what to look for?" And Mulida replied, "I don't know, but I can't sit idly by." After disguising themselves, they began searching for clues about suspicious locations and arrived at a distorted house. Inside, they found a basement filled with the corpses of people who had suffered in the city. It turned out there wasn't just one body, but many, embracing each other in the basement. It was explained that these were my scars, or people immune to the effects of spirit guidance and unable to change. He was filled with resentment and suffering. Although only partially complete, villagers around Marita began hearing a voice saying, "This isn't enough. Bring blood. Bring me more blood. Kill them. Kill now." The mother ordered Lita, who instantly knew the location of the incident, and rushed there. Upon arriving, she found Elise and Rositi lying there. Rositi's father said he would resurrect Rose, and then they turned to Mulida, who was guarding Elise, but she had to flee as the villagers began hunting her and Mulida, who was her student. After successfully escaping, she went to the stone guarded by a sentry, who tried to prevent her from approaching. However, as soon as she arrived, she immediately shattered the stone, revealing a hidden cave within. Upon entering, she found skeletons and a document storage room. As Merida read the documents, a voice said, "I sense someone near my old home. Who are you?" This prompted Merida to draw her sword and declare herself as the paladin girl, Merida. While searching for the source of the voice, Merida encountered Rose, who appeared with blue eyes and a thirst for blood. Without hesitation, Rositi attacked Merida to drain her blood. However, our hero appeared, stopping Rositi and saying, "Open your eyes, Rose." The hero, now with white hair, told Rositi she didn't belong to the world of darkness. Though her memories as a human might bind her, it felt to the hero as though he were speaking to a wall. Rositi then fled. Seeing the hero in his vampire form, Merida retreated and asked Rositi what was happening. The hero told her not to come any closer, but Merida, curious, asked what would happen if she did. Without further ado, they pushed Merida to the ground, and the hero said he would seal all memories related to him deep within her heart, without pain or side effects. He would return to the first time he met her, striving to be her private tutor again. Although she would forget everything, he would remain by her side. Merida listened and said that, even if the entire world looked at him differently, she would always be by his side. With conviction, Merida kissed the hero and declared that her life would always be with him. Meanwhile, at the church, Rositi's wedding was about to begin. The teacher had come twice, which made the girl named Rositi suddenly realize the position of her mother-in-law. Now, the battle between Mulida and Rositi had begun. However, in reality, that wound was hers, to reveal the true perpetrator, named Nakawa. Realizing his identity was at risk of exposure, Nakawa quickly fled through a secret path, pursued by Rositi. But just as she was about to catch him, Nakawa attempted to strangle Rose. As Rositi was on the verge of collapse, the hero appeared, saving her and restoring her memories. The fight resumed, and Nakawa, defeated, retreated down the path, only to be trapped by a magic wielder who incinerated him, sending him to another world. On the other side, Rositi, who had remembered everything, felt victorious. In the sunlight, she smiled calmly. Afterward, our hero went to see Rose's father. At that moment, the boss's wife, Bozum, was on the brink of transforming into an entity filled with resentment. Our hero then revealed that there was a cure that could restore a person from a vengeful force back to full humanity. As a token of gratitude, the hero gave the medicine to Bozum's wife, and once everything was over, Bozum turned himself in. Rositi later told the hero that her reason for joining the Legion was because she had a purpose. She wanted to meet someone who had always been by her side since childhood, though she couldn't remember that person's face or name. That was why she wanted fame, hoping that person would come looking for her. As Rositi was speaking with the hero, another girl arrived and sat beside him, making Rositi very upset as she felt the competition was heating up. In episode 10, the story begins in a classroom where the teacher asks the students if anyone can explain the characteristics of the 8 classes. Melita's mother-in-law raises her hand, appearing more mature after previous events. In the hall, the principal announces that the graduation exam from the Demon Academy is approaching, and before that, there is a certification test in the Labyrinthine Library. Melita and Elise feel relieved because they don't have to take the test, but the principal invites them to participate. Meanwhile, in the meeting room, Mio informs the seniors that she has examined Melita and Elise and found a significant difference between the two. The headmaster suggests that it may be time to reveal the secret about the talented girl with a weakness. At the school, a masked person is searching for his child and tells reporters that Melita is his daughter. This shocks people, sparking whispers and questions. Later that night, the hero receives a mysterious letter stating that on the night of the 13th moon, false followers will start moving, searching for the altar, followed by the morning when the certification test begins. While on the way in the elevator, they are surprised by a large wooden beam attacking the students and the headmaster. While on the other side, our hero must meet his father. Melita replaces the headmaster, who goes with the students. Her father does not inform her that at the end of the school year, he will request that she quit and return to the main house. However, at the same time, a nun arrives and says, "There's a big problem. Something has been sent to the headmaster's office." It turns out to be a letter from the Frieza Game Guild, addressed to Melita's father. When the letter is opened, it reads, "The demon hunger has peaked. The book written about the young girl must fill the endless library." Meanwhile, the two siblings are taken to the bottom floor of the library. While exploring, they are attacked by ghosts, but manage to defeat them easily. However, their swords start to weaken. The mother then tells Melita to prepare to face 4 ghosts at once. Soon, the hungry ghosts appear again, this time with even more allies. As the siblings begin to struggle, a gust of wind magic arrives to assist. It's a woman named Salacha. Meanwhile, in episode 11 of Assassin Price, Playcrown intervenes to help students in danger, and then joins the 4 girls exploring the library. Salacha finally reveals to the siblings that the actual test is a trap. Elsewhere, the headmaster and the third-year students are attacked by a man named Coder. During the attack, the headmaster is stabbed in the back, but before he can be eliminated, Play comes to the rescue. Play's combat skills quickly defeat Coder, but it isn't over, as Coder transforms into the Demon King. Back with the girls, Mule manages to escape with the book revealing Melita's class. Meanwhile, our hero battles Coder, aided by William. The battle concludes with Coder's defeat. Afterward, William encounters someone carrying a staff who asks if he wants to join him. However, William declines, saying he only wants to exchange information. They ultimately strike a deal. Then, the man with the staff reported an unexpected movement at 2 doors connecting to the library. One of them was the door watched over by the Mortive Weapons Association, and the other was guarded by Sisson. After hearing this, they decided to investigate. Their main goal was to uncover the princess's secret. If the day ever came when the princess had to be killed, it would be a task only he could carry out alone. In episode 12, Melita becomes trapped in an illusionary fairy tale world created by water, and her outfit looks utterly adorable. Yet, at the same time, Mule says, "Let's celebrate a little more, Melita, because soon everything will begin." The trial then begins, and Melita is attacked by an elderly woman. As darkness starts to surround her, Melita feels disturbed and finally speaks. It's not about an illegitimate child, where a man named Terra would become the head of the family. Upon hearing this, he tells his mother that within 3 days, he must prove himself. To do this, he must fight Salacha. The battle is intense, and eventually, Terra's stepmother manages to knock down Salacha. "Listen, everyone, I am proud of myself as a samurai. Because I am a samurai, I can stand again. There is someone I want to meet, myself. I will make all of you accept me. I am a paladin from the Algil family." With Terra's stepmother's victory, all the masked people feel anxious because they are enemies of Melilla's father and Elise's mother. However, Terra, as the leader, plans to kill everyone here. Without further delay, he uses his internet ink pen, a magical tool that can create new spells. Meanwhile, The girls must face a man claiming to be Malida's father. As Malida is about to be attacked by a sword, the black sword shatters. "Sorry for being late, miss. I'll take care of the rest," says the man as he shields Malida. Seeing this hero, one of the villains says, "I knew this day would come." The hero replies, "I don't care." The battle begins, accompanied by music that intensifies the scene. Since Malida has trained frequently, she is now able to use a special skill. A man with a sword uses the Thousand Swords technique to create shimmering flower petals, overwhelming his masked opponent and sending him to another realm. Terra's stepmother then embraces Malida tightly. However, the masked man, thought to be dead, turns out to still be alive. Terra, as the leader, finally decides to kill him. Malida, now acknowledged by her father, begins to cry endlessly. But our hero arrives to console her. "I'm happy for you, Miss Malida." And with that, the scene ends.